12 seconds. That's how long Catherine had to decide if a stranger's life was worth destroying her own. The private dining room had been whispers and expensive wine just moments before. 7 men in tailored suits. The kind of wealth that didn't ask for things, it took them. Catherine had been serving that wealth. Invisible in her black uniform. Just another shadow refilling glasses for men who never learned her name. Then she saw him choking. Then she saw them watching. 7 men. 14 eyes. Not one reaching for a phone. Not one moving to help. They were waiting for him to die. She should have walked away. Should have pretended she saw nothing, understood nothing. But her legs moved before her brain caught up. And the kiss that saved his life? It destroyed everything she had. This is the story of how a single mother from Koreatown made an enemy of the most dangerous men in Los Angeles, and caught the obsession of the one man who could protect her from them. The restaurant was called Hanol. Sky, in Korean. A name that promised elevation. Transcendence. The kind of dining experience where a single meal cost more than Catherine's monthly rent. She'd worked there for 3 years. Long enough to know which businessmen tipped well and which ones let their hands wander. Long enough to perfect the art of invisibility, present when needed, absent when not, never memorable enough to become a problem. Tonight's private booking had come with unusual instructions. No substitutions. No interruptions. No eye contact with the primary guest. Catherine had served enough powerful men to recognize the signs. Someone important was coming. Someone who expected the world to bend around him like water around stone. The 7 men arrived first. They wore their suits like armor, expensive fabric stretched across shoulders that had seen violence. Catherine caught fragments of their conversation as she laid the banchan, small dishes of pickled vegetables and fermented sides that preceded every Korean meal. They spoke in Korean. Not the polished Seoul dialect of K-dramas and corporate boardrooms. This was rougher. Regional. The kind of Korean that Catherine's father had learned during his 8 years stationed in Busan, the kind that still lived in the back of her throat like a second heartbeat. 9. The Yong arrives at 9. Yong. Dragon. A title, not a name. Catherine filed it away without reaction, her face the pleasant blank mask she'd perfected over years of service. At 8:47, the energy in the room shifted. The men stopped talking. Stopped moving. 7 bodies oriented toward the door like compass needles finding north. He entered alone. Kong Jun SEO was not the largest man in the room, but he occupied the most space. Tall, lean, with cheekbones sharp enough to cut glass and eyes that held the flat calm of deep water. His suit was charcoal gray, impeccably tailored, and when he moved, it moved with him like a second skin. He didn't acknowledge the men who rose to greet him. Didn't acknowledge Catherine as she stepped forward to pour his water. His gaze swept the room once, cataloging, assessing, then settled on the empty chair at the head of the table. He sat. The others followed. Catherine retreated to her position near the kitchen entrance, watching from the periphery as the meal began. The conversation was careful, coded. Business discussed in metaphors she didn't fully understand. But she caught enough to know this wasn't a celebration. This was a negotiation. And Kong Jun SEO was losing. She noticed it first in his hands. The slight tremor as he reached for his chopsticks. The way his fingers fumbled on the lacquered wood, missing their grip. Then his breathing changed. Shallow. Labored. A thin sheen of sweat appeared on his forehead despite the room's aggressive air conditioning. Catherine's body went still. She knew the signs. Had seen her father fight through similar symptoms during a severe allergic reaction when she was 12. Had watched him nearly die in a Busan hospital while doctors pumped epinephrine into his veins. But this wasn't anaphylaxis. This was something else. Kang Junseo's hand rose to his throat. His eyes widened, the first crack in his composure. He tried to speak, but the words came out strangled, wet. The 7 men watched. Not with alarm. Not with concern. With patience. One of them murmured. "How long does it take?" "Soon. The poison spreads quickly." Catherine's blood turned to ice. They'd poisoned him. These men, his own people, seated at his table, eating his food. They'd put something in his drink and now they were watching him die like it was entertainment. Her training screamed at her to stay invisible. To slip into the kitchen, to call 911 from the back hallway, to let professionals handle whatever this was. But professionals wouldn't arrive in time. She could see that in the blue tinge creeping into Junseo's lips. Could see it in the way his body was listing sideways, consciousness flickering like a candle in wind. 12 seconds. She counted them as she moved. 1. 2. Her feet carried her forward. 3. 4. The men hadn't noticed her yet. Their attention was fixed on their dying leader. 5. 6. She reached the head of the table. 7. 8. Junseo's eyes found hers. Confusion. Fear. The raw terror of a man who understood he was dying and couldn't stop it. 9. 10. One of the men turned. Saw her. His hand moved toward his jacket. 11. Catherine grabbed Kang Junseo by the collar of his $1,000 shirt and pulled his face toward hers. 12. She kissed him. Not gently. Not romantically. She sealed her mouth over his and forced her fingers past his lips, down his throat, triggering the gag reflex with brutal efficiency. He convulsed against her. His body heaved. And then he was vomiting. Champagne and bile and something darker spilling across the pristine white tablecloth, across her uniform, across the carefully constructed dignity of the most dangerous man in Los Angeles. "Oh my God!" Catherine screamed in English, loud enough to shatter the room's suffocating tension. "He's choking. Someone call 911. The men froze. This wasn't part of their plan. Their plan required silence. Discretion. A quiet death that would look natural when investigators arrived. Not a hysterical waitress. Not a scene. Not witnesses rushing in from the kitchen, drawn by her screams. The man with his hand inside his jacket, reaching for a weapon, she knew, hesitated. Another server burst through the doors, face pale with alarm. Then the manager. Then a busboy. Then the distant wail of sirens, someone had actually called for help. The 7 men exchanged glances. A silent conversation Catherine couldn't fully read but understood instinctively. Abort. Retreat. Regroup. One by one, they stood. Straightened their jackets. Walked toward the exit with the measured pace of men who had nothing to hide. But the last one, older, silver-haired, with the cold eyes of a man who'd ordered deaths before, paused at the door. He looked at Catherine. She was still on the floor, covered in vomit, cradling the half-conscious body of the man she'd just saved. Their eyes met. And in that moment, she saw recognition dawn across his features. Not of her face. Of her understanding. He'd seen the way she'd moved. The way she'd acted without hesitation. She'd understood their Korean. She'd known what they were doing. She was a witness. The silver-haired man smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. Then he was gone, and the room was filled with paramedics, and someone was pulling Catherine away from Junseo's body, and the chaos swallowed everything. The manager found her in the hallway 30 minutes later. Catherine was sitting on an upturned crate, her ruined uniform stiff with dried vomit, her hands shaking around a cup of water someone had pressed into her grip. "You're fired." She looked up. Manager Park, a thin man with thin lips and the perpetual expression of someone who'd smelled something unpleasant, stood over her with his arms crossed. I saved his life. You assaulted a VIP guest. His voice was clipped. Final. You created a scene. You disrupted service. You. He was dying. That's not your responsibility. Manager Park thrust a manila envelope toward her. Final paycheck. Prorated. Security will escort you out. Catherine stared at the envelope. 3 years. 3 years of doubles and holidays and smiling through condescension. 3 years of building something stable for Zoe, for Marcus, for the fragile life she'd constructed from nothing. Gone in 12 seconds. The police will want to talk to me, she said. About what happened? Manager Park's expression flickered. Something uncomfortable. Something afraid. The police have already spoken with Mr. Kang's representatives. There will be no investigation. The matter is resolved. Resolved? Food poisoning. His eyes didn't meet hers. An unfortunate reaction to shellfish. These things happen. Catherine felt the world tilt. They were covering it up. 7 men had tried to murder someone in this restaurant, and it was being erased. Filed away. Forgotten. I know what I saw. You saw nothing. Manager Park's voice hardened. And if you're smart, you'll remember that. Hanul values discretion. Our clients value discretion. If you want to work in this industry again, anywhere in this city, you'll forget everything that happened in that room. The security guard appeared at her elbow. Large. Silent. His hand hovered near her arm without touching. Catherine stood on legs that felt like water. This is wrong, she said. This is Los Angeles, Manager Park replied. Show her out. The back door opened onto an alley that smelled like garbage and broken dreams. The security guard closed it behind her without a word. Catherine stood in the darkness, the envelope clutched to her chest, and let the reality wash over her. She was unemployed. She had no references. The most powerful restaurant in Koreatown had just branded her a liability. And somewhere in this city, 7 men knew she'd seen their faces. Heard their plan. Understood their words. She was a witness. And witnesses didn't live long. The moment Catherine realized saving a life had painted a target on her own. The apartment was dark when she got home. 4th floor. No elevator. The kind of building where the hallway lights flickered and the walls were thin enough to hear your neighbor's arguments. Catherine climbed the stairs on autopilot, her body moving through exhaustion, her mind stuck on the silver-haired man's smile. The promise in it. The threat. She unlocked the door quietly. Mrs. Kim, the elderly Korean woman from 4B, would have put Zoe to bed hours ago. Catherine owed her another favor. Another debt she couldn't repay. The apartment was small. 2 bedrooms, if you counted the converted closet where Marcus slept when he wasn't at UCLA. A kitchen that barely fit 1 person. A bathroom with tiles that had been cracked since before she'd signed the lease. But it was hers. Bought with double shifts and holiday hours and the bone-deep determination to give her daughter something stable. Something safe. She checked on Zoe first. Her daughter slept with the fierce concentration of all 4-year-olds, sprawled across the mattress, blanket kicked off, one arm wrapped around a stuffed rabbit named Mr. Whiskers. Her braids had come loose during the night, and Catherine gently tucked them back before pressing a kiss to her forehead. This was what mattered. Not the job. Not the money. This small, perfect person who depended on her completely. Catherine retreated to the kitchen, sat at the table, and finally let herself cry. The blacklist moved faster than she expected. 3 days after the incident, Catherine had applied to 14 restaurants, 3 hotels, 2 catering companies. Even the diner on Normandy that always seemed to be hiring. Every single application came back rejected. Not, "We'll keep your resume on file," rejected. Not, "Position has been filled," rejected. Silence. Complete and absolute. As if her name had been erased from the industry entirely. On day 4, she swallowed her pride and called a former coworker from Hanoi. Someone she'd covered shifts for. Someone she'd thought was a friend. The call went to voicemail twice before the woman finally answered. "I can't talk to you. Jenny, please. I just need to know what's happening." "No one will. They're saying you attacked a guest." Jenny's voice was hushed. "Frightened. That you had some kind of breakdown. That you're dangerous." "That's not what happened. It doesn't matter what happened. It matters what people believe." And Catherine. A pause. Heavy. Guilty. "There are men asking about you. Coming to the restaurant. Showing your picture." Catherine's blood went cold. "What men?" "I don't know. Korean. Expensive suits. The kind of men you don't say no to." Jenny's breath hitched. "I'm sorry. I can't be connected to this. To you. I have a family." The line went dead. Catherine stared at her phone for a long time. The screen showed her reflection, tired eyes, worried lines, the face of a woman watching her world crumble. They were looking for her. The 7 men. The silver-haired one who'd smiled. They were looking, and it was only a matter of time before they found her. She noticed the car on day 5. Black SUV. Tinted windows. Parked across the street from her building when she left to take Zoe to daycare. Still there when she came back. Still there when she checked again at midnight, peering through her bedroom curtains like a character in a thriller she'd never wanted to be part of. Day 6, the car moved. Different spot. Same model. Same tinted windows. Catherine started taking different routes to the grocery store. Started looking over her shoulder at crosswalks. Started jumping at shadows that might be men in expensive suits with orders to silence a witness. She didn't sleep. Couldn't. Every creak of the building became footsteps in the hallway. Every car engine became a threat approaching. Marcus called from UCLA, worried because she hadn't answered his texts. She told him everything was fine. Told him to focus on his exams. Told him not to worry. She was drowning, and she was smiling into the phone, and she wondered when lying to protect the people she loved had become so easy. Day 7 broke her. She came home from another fruitless job search to find her apartment door unlocked. Catherine's hand froze on the knob. She always locked the door. Triple-checked it since this nightmare began. The deadbolt, the chain, the flimsy doorknob lock that wouldn't stop anyone determined but made her feel safer anyway. All 3 were disengaged. She should run. Should grab Zoe from daycare and Marcus from UCLA and disappear. Should. But she pushed the door open instead. Because running required money she didn't have. Because hiding required resources beyond her reach. Because some part of her, the same part that had moved before her brain caught up in that restaurant, needed to know. The apartment looked undisturbed. Everything in its place. Zoe's toys in the corner. Marcus's textbooks on the shelf. The dishes she'd washed that morning still drying in the rack. Except the kitchen table. A photograph lay in the center. Catherine approached it like it might explode. The photo showed Marcus walking across the UCLA campus. Backpack over one shoulder, phone in hand, completely unaware that someone was watching him. Capturing him. A red circle had been drawn around his face. Beneath it, another photograph. Zoe. On the playground at her daycare. Laughing. Reaching for the monkey bars. Alive and innocent and perfect. A red circle around her face too. And beneath both photographs, a note. Catherine's hands trembled as she picked it up. The words were in Korean, handwritten with the precise strokes of someone educated. Someone careful. Her Korean was fluent enough to read it without hesitation. Fluent enough for the meaning to hit her like a physical blow. Forget what you heard. Or they will be forgotten instead. The note slipped from her fingers. She backed away from the table. 1 step. 2. Until her shoulders hit the wall and her legs gave out and she slid down to the floor, staring at the photographs of her family marked for death. This was real. This was happening. And she had no idea how to stop it. The knock came at midnight. Catherine had spent the hours since finding the photos in a state of paralyzed panic. She'd picked up her phone a dozen times, trying to figure out who to call. Police? And tell them what? That men she couldn't identify had threatened her family over a crime that officially never happened. She'd packed a bag for Zoe. Then unpacked it. Then packed it again. She had $847 in her bank account. Enough for maybe 3 nights in a cheap motel. Then what? The knock came again. Firm. Patient. The knock of someone who knew she was home and wasn't going away. Catherine grabbed the kitchen knife, a cheap thing from a grocery store set, blade dull from years of use, and approached the door. Who is it? Miss Catherine. A man's voice. Korean accent. Calm in a way that terrified her. Mr. Kong would like to thank you personally for your assistance the other night. Mr. Kong. The man she'd saved. The dragon. I don't want thanks, Catherine said through the door. I want to be left alone. I understand. But I'm afraid that's no longer possible. A pause. You've been marked, Miss Catherine. The men from the restaurant know you're a witness. Mr. Kong is the only one who can protect you from them. And if I don't want his protection? Another pause. Longer. Then I'm afraid you won't survive the week. Neither will your daughter. Neither will your brother. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Catherine's grip tightened on the knife. Her eyes burned with tears she refused to let fall. How do I know you're not one of them? How do I know this isn't a trap? You don't. The voice was almost gentle. But consider this, if we wanted you dead, you'd be dead already. We've been watching you for 3 days. We know where you work, or where you used to. We know where your daughter goes to daycare. We know your brother's class schedule at UCLA. Catherine's stomach dropped. We're not the threat, Miss Catherine. We're the shield. And right now, you need one. She stood there for a long moment. Knife in hand. Heart pounding. Then she unlocked the door. The man outside her door was not what Catherine expected. He was tall. Broad-shouldered. A scar cut through his left eyebrow, silver against brown skin. His suit was black, perfectly tailored, and his hands stayed visible at his sides. A gesture of peace. Or a performance of one. You can put down the knife. His voice was the same calm tone from through the door. I'm not here to hurt you. Catherine didn't lower it. Who are you? My name is Jay. I'm Mr. Kang's head of security. He glanced past her into the apartment. You should pack a bag. We need to move quickly. I'm not going anywhere until you tell me what's happening. Jay's expression didn't change. But something in his eyes shifted. Respect, maybe. Or recognition. The men who tried to kill Mr. Kong are called the Haitian faction. They've controlled the Eastern Territories for 15 years under his family's authority. 3 nights ago, they attempted a coup. You interrupted it. Catherine's grip on the knife tightened. I didn't interrupt anything. I saved a man's life. Same result. Jay stepped back from the doorway. Gave her space. The faction knows you understood their conversation. They know you can identify at least two of them. Director Yoon has already issued orders to eliminate you before you can testify. Director Yoon. The silver-haired man. Jay's voice hardened almost imperceptibly. He's been Mr. Kang's mentor for 30 years. Trusted advisor. Family friend. And apparently the architect of his assassination. Catherine thought of the smile. The cold promise in it. Why should I trust you? Why should I trust any of you? Jay reached into his jacket. Slowly. Pulled out a phone. Turned the screen toward her. A video played. Security footage. Her apartment building, filmed from across the street. Men approaching the entrance. The timestamp showed 3 hours ago. We intercepted them before they reached your floor. Jay pocketed the phone. 2 of them are dead. The third is being questioned. That's how we know about the photographs. About the threat. Catherine's legs went weak. You killed people. We protected you. Jay's voice held no apology. And we'll keep protecting you. But only if you come with us. Now. She looked back at her apartment. At Zoe's toys scattered across the floor. At the photographs still lying on the kitchen table. At the life she'd built that was already crumbling around her. My daughter. My brother. They're not safe either. They're being relocated as we speak. Separate location. Full security detail. Mr. Kang's orders. Catherine's head snapped back to him. You already moved them. Without asking me. There wasn't time to ask. Jay's expression remained neutral. Your brother is in a secure dormitory on the UCLA campus. Armed guards outside his door. Your daughter was picked up from the neighbor's apartment 20 minutes ago. She's with a protection team headed to a safe house in Pasadena. Catherine wanted to scream. Wanted to rage against this violation. These strangers touching her family. Moving her family. Making decisions that belonged to her. But the photographs flashed through her mind. Red circles around the people she loved. And she realized that anger was a luxury she couldn't afford. Take me to my daughter. That's not possible right now. Take me to my daughter or I don't go anywhere. Jay studied her for a long moment. Mr. Kang anticipated you'd say that. He extended his hand. Palm up. A phone sat in it. She's on speed dial. You can talk to her on the way. Catherine stared at the phone. At Jay. At the darkness of the hallway behind him. Then she grabbed her bag. The one she'd packed and unpacked 3 times. Stepped past Jay into the corridor. And let the door close on everything she used to be. The drive took 40 minutes. Catherine spent most of it on the phone with Zoe. Her daughter's voice was sleepy but cheerful. The nice lady had given her ice cream. There was a big TV with cartoons. Could mommy come soon? Soon, baby. Catherine's voice didn't shake. Mommy has to take care of something first. But I'll see you very soon. She hung up as the car pulled into an underground garage. The space was vast. Empty. The kind of place where screams wouldn't carry. Jay led her to a private elevator. Keycard. Retinal scan. The doors opened onto ascending silence. When they opened again, Catherine stepped into another world. The penthouse occupied the entire floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows revealed Los Angeles spread beneath them like a carpet of stars. The furniture was minimal. Expensive. The kind of design that whispered money rather than screaming it. And standing at the window, silhouetted against the city lights, was the man she'd saved. Kang Jun-seo turned as she entered. He looked better than the last time she'd seen him. Color had returned to his face. His posture was straight. Strong. But shadows remained under his eyes, and when he moved toward her, she caught the slight hesitation in his step. The poison had left marks. "Miss Catherine." His voice was deeper than she remembered. Rougher. "You came. Did I have a choice?" He stopped a few feet away. Studied her with eyes that revealed nothing. "There's always a choice. I simply made one option significantly more attractive than the others. You kidnapped my family. I relocated them." His head tilted slightly. "There's a difference. Not from where I'm standing." A ghost of a smile crossed his features. Then disappeared. "Please. Sit." Catherine didn't move. Jun-seo gestured to Jay. His security chief nodded once and left. The elevator doors closed. And suddenly they were alone. "You saved my life." Jun-seo walked to a side table. Poured 2 glasses of water. "No alcohol. No pretense. I understand that wasn't your intention. You saw a man dying and you acted on instinct. But intention doesn't change outcome. I'm alive because of you." He offered her a glass. She didn't take it. "I don't want your gratitude. I want to go home." "You don't have a home anymore." He set the glass down. His voice was matter-of-fact. Not cruel. "The apartment is compromised. Your job is gone. The life you had before that restaurant no longer exists. I'm sorry for that. But pretending otherwise won't change it." Catherine felt the words land like blows. Each one true. Each one terrible. "What do you want from me?" Jun-seo returned to the window. Looked out at the city he apparently controlled. "The men who tried to kill me are still out there. Director Yoon has gone underground. He's gathering support from factions who resent my family's authority. Within a week, maybe 2, he'll have enough strength to try again." Catherine waited. "You saw their faces. Heard their voices. You can identify members of his inner circle. People I thought I could trust. You want me to be a witness. I want you to help me find them before they find me." He turned back to her. "Before they find you. Before they find your daughter." The mention of Zoe sent ice through Catherine's veins. "If I help you. If I identify these men. Then what? Then they'll be dealt with. And you'll be free. New identity. New life. Enough money to start over anywhere in the world. And if I refuse?" Jun-seo was quiet for a moment. "Then I open that door." He gestured to the elevator. "You walk out. I won't stop you. But you'll be dead by morning. Your daughter will grow up an orphan. Your brother will bury you instead of graduating." He paused. "And the men who killed you will never face justice. Because there will be no one left to identify them." Catherine's hands clenched at her sides. "You're threatening me." "I'm telling you the truth." His eyes held hers. Something in them that wasn't quite cold. "The world you've stumbled into doesn't offer gentle options. Only survival. I'm offering you the best chance at it." Silence stretched between them. Catherine thought of Zoe's voice on the phone. Sleepy. Trusting. Asking when mommy would come. She thought of Marcus. 19 years old. Trying to build a future she'd sacrificed everything to give him. She thought of the silver-haired man's smile. The promise of violence in it. One condition. Name it. My daughter and my brother stay in a separate location. Away from you. Away from whatever war you're fighting. I want to see them. Talk to them. Know they're safe. But they don't come near this. June SEO nodded once. Done. And I'm not your prisoner. I'm not your employee. I help you because I have no other choice. But the moment those men are gone, I'm gone too. No strings. No debts. No favors. Something flickered across his features. Too fast to read. Agreed. Catherine released a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. Then show me the photographs. Catherine just made a deal with the devil. She's trapped in a penthouse with a man the world calls the dragon. A man whose own people tried to murder him. A man who holds her family's safety in his hands. But here's the question I want you to think about. Did she make the right choice? Drop your answer in the comments. And if you're new here, smash that subscribe button. Tap the notification bell. Because Catherine's nightmare is just getting started. Now, let's talk about what Catherine discovered in that penthouse. The first week was photographs. Hundreds of them. Surveillance shots. Security footage stills. Men in suits who all looked vaguely similar to Catherine's untrained eye. But June SEO was patient. Methodical. He'd sit beside her for hours, sliding images across the table, watching her face for any flicker of recognition. This one. No. This one. No. She identified the first conspirator on day 3. Wait. Catherine's finger stopped on a photograph. Him. June SEO leaned closer. His shoulder brushed hers. The contact was brief. Electric. You're certain? I recognize the way he holds himself. She studied the image. Broad shoulders. Thick neck. A face that belonged on a wanted poster. He was the one who reached for his jacket when I approached you. The one who would have shot me if I hadn't screamed. June SEO's jaw tightened. Lieutenant Beck. He's been with my organization for 12 years. Trusted enough to guard my mother. Your mother. She has dementia. Lives in a care facility outside the city. He stood. Walked to the window. I call her every Sunday. She doesn't recognize my voice. But I call anyway. Catherine watched his reflection in the glass. The vulnerability he was trying to hide. I'm sorry. Don't be. He didn't turn around. She's alive. That's more than many can say in my world. On day 5, she identified 2 more. One had been the voice. The one who'd said the dragon falls. His accent was distinctive. Coastal. A specific cadence that Catherine recognized from her childhood in Busan. He's not from Seoul. She tapped his photograph. He's from the coast. Probably raised near the shipyards. The way he pronounces certain words. It's regional. June SEO stared at her. You could tell that from a few sentences. My father spent 8 years learning that dialect. Catherine shrugged. I spent 8 years absorbing it. Kids pick up things adults miss. He was quiet for a long moment. My mother speaks the same way. Coastal. The accent you just described. He paused. She was born near the shipyards. Catherine didn't know what to say. So they let the silence sit between them. Not uncomfortable. Just present. By the end of week 1, she'd identified 4 of the 7 men. June SEO's people handled the arrests. Catherine didn't ask what happened after. Didn't want to know. But she noticed that each time she gave him a name, something in him hardened. Each confirmation of betrayal carved another piece of humanity away. He was surrounded by enemies wearing the faces of friends. And Catherine understood that loneliness better than she wanted to admit. You should sleep. Catherine looked up from the photographs scattered across the table. June SEO stood in the doorway. It was past midnight. She'd lost track of time. I'm fine. You've been at this for 14 hours. He crossed to the table. Began gathering the images. Whatever's left will still be here tomorrow. I want to finish this. I want to go home. He paused. Home doesn't exist anymore. Remember. Then I want to build a new one. She met his eyes. With my daughter. My brother. Away from all of this. June SEO set the photographs aside. Tell me about her. Your daughter. Catherine hesitated. Why? Because I've spent the last week asking you to identify murderers. He sat across from her. It seems only fair that I know something about what you're fighting for. She studied him. Looking for the trap. The manipulation. Found only exhaustion. And something that might have been genuine curiosity. Her name is Zoe. She's 4. She wants to be a veterinarian and an astronaut and a princess. She's not sure which one to pick yet. A smile ghosted across June SEO's features. Ambitious. She gets that from me. Catherine's voice softened. Her father left before she was born. Decided a kid wasn't part of his plan. So it's just been us. Her and me against the world. And your brother. Marcus. He's 19. Pre-med at UCLA. Brilliant. Stubborn. Thinks he's invincible the way all 19-year-olds do. Who raised him? I did. After our father died. After our mother couldn't handle it anymore. Catherine looked away. I was 17. He was 12. And I made him a promise that I would get him through school. Get him a future. No matter what it cost me. June SEO was quiet. That's why you work double shifts. Why you took the job at Hanoi. Why you stayed invisible for 3 years. Catherine nodded. Invisibility was the plan. Serve the wealthy. Stay under the radar. Save enough money to get Marcus through med school. Then maybe. Finally. Start living for myself. And then I ruined it. She looked at him. You didn't ruin anything. You were the one dying. The 7 men who poisoned you. They ruined it. June SEO leaned back in his chair. Do you know why they call me Yong? Catherine shook her head. My father started the organization 40 years ago. Built it from nothing. By the time I was born, he was the most powerful man in Los Angeles. He raised me to take his place. Trained me. Tested me. Made me into something that could survive this world. His voice was distant. Remembering. When I was 16, a rival faction kidnapped my mother. They wanted my father to surrender territory. He refused. So they sent her back to us in pieces. Catherine's stomach turned. She survived. Barely. But the trauma. It destroyed her mind. She doesn't remember any of it now. Maybe that's a mercy. June SEO's eyes found hers. I killed the men who took her. Every single one. Hunted them for 3 years until there was no one left. That's when they started calling me Yong. The dragon who burns everything he touches. Catherine saw it then. The loneliness behind the power. The grief behind the cold. You're not what I expected. What did you expect? A monster. He smiled. It was sad. Maybe I am. I've done terrible things. Made terrible choices. And I'll do terrible things again before this is over. His smile faded. But you don't seem afraid of me. Catherine considered the question. I grew up around soldiers. Men trained to kill. My father was one of them. But he was also kind. Also gentle. Also capable of reading bedtime stories with the same hands that had held a weapon. She met his gaze. People are complicated. You can be dangerous and still be worth knowing. You can be a dragon and still be human. Something shifted in his expression. Something cracked open. Catherine knew she should look away. Should maintain distance. Should remember that this man was her captor as much as her protector. But she didn't. The phone shattered the moment. Jun Seo pulled it from his pocket. Answered in rapid Korean. His face went blank. Then white. Catherine's blood chilled. What? What happened? He lowered the phone. Director Yoon has your daughter. The words didn't make sense. Catherine heard them. Understood the individual components. But her brain refused to assemble them into meaning. That's not possible. She's protected. You said she was protected. The safe house was compromised. Jun Seo was already moving. Shouting orders in Korean. Jay materialized from somewhere. Other men followed. Someone promised I'd need every resource. Mrs. Kim. Catherine's voice cracked. The neighbor. She was staying with Zoe. Jun Seo stopped. I'm sorry. No. Catherine. No. 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 She was on the floor. She didn't remember falling. Her hands were shaking. Her whole body was shaking. And somewhere far away, she could hear someone screaming. It was her. The video arrived 30 minutes later. Catherine watched it on Jun Seo's phone. Her hands steady now. Frozen. Zoe sat in a metal chair. Her face was tear-streaked. Her braids had come undone. She was clutching Mr. Whiskers with both hands, the stuffed rabbit's ear torn and dangling. Behind her stood Director Yoon. Miss Catherine. His voice was pleasant. Almost friendly. I apologize for the dramatic measures. But negotiations require leverage. And your daughter is excellent leverage. He stroked Zoe's hair. She flinched. Catherine's vision went red. My demands are simple. Open the penthouse security. All of it. Let my men in. And I'll return your daughter unharmed. He smiled. The same smile from the restaurant. Refuse. And I'll return her in pieces. Starting with the fingers she uses to hold that ridiculous rabbit. The video ended. Silence. Catherine stared at the blank screen. Then she turned to Jun Seo. Open the security. If I do that, he'll kill me. I don't care. He'll kill you too. And your daughter. And your brother. You'll have died for nothing. Open the security. Catherine. He grabbed her shoulders. Forced her to look at him. Listen to me. Yoon doesn't want a trade. He wants witnesses eliminated. The moment you stop being useful, you're dead. Zoe is dead. This isn't negotiation. It's extermination with extra steps. Catherine's breath came in ragged gasps. Then what? What do I do? He has my daughter. He has Zoe. She's 4 years old and she's alone with a monster and I can't. Her voice broke. I can't lose her. She's everything. She's the only thing that matters. And I can't. Jun Seo's grip softened. His thumbs traced circles on her shoulders. I'm going to get her back. How? Because I know Yoon. I know how he thinks. Where he hides. What he values. He looked at her. And because you trusted me with this instead of opening those gates yourself. Catherine went still. You knew. I suspected. He released her. The security codes. You've seen me enter them. You could have opened everything. Called Yoon. Made the trade. But you didn't. You told me the truth instead. Because you're the only one who can save her. No. June SEO shook his head. Because somewhere in the last week, you decided to trust me. Despite everything. Despite the kidnapping and the threats and the impossible situation I put you in. You chose trust. Catherine's eyes burned. Don't make me regret it. I won't. He turned to Jay. Mobilize everyone. We're going to war. The assault happened at 3 a.m. Catherine wasn't supposed to be there. June SEO had ordered her to stay at the penthouse. To wait. To let professionals handle the violence. She refused. This is my daughter. We're not negotiating this. June SEO stared at her for a long moment. Then he handed her a bulletproof vest. Stay behind me. Do exactly what I say. And if I tell you to run, you run. Understood. Understood. The warehouse was on the outskirts of the city. Industrial district. Abandoned buildings. The kind of place where gunshots wouldn't attract attention. June SEO's people moved like shadows. Silent. Coordinated. Catherine followed in their wake, her heart hammering, her eyes scanning every corner for Zoe. They found her in a back room. She was still in the metal chair. Still clutching Mr. Whiskers. But she was alone. No guards. No Yoon. A trap. Catherine knew it. June SEO knew it. Everyone knew it. But she didn't care. Mommy. Zoe's voice shattered the silence. Catherine ran. Dropped to her knees. Pulled her daughter into her arms and held on like the world was ending. It's okay. I'm here. Mommy's here. You're safe. You're safe. Zoe sobbed into her chest. Her small body shaking. The bad man. The bad man said. He can't hurt you anymore. Catherine kissed her forehead. Her cheeks. Her hair. I promise. I promise. Behind them, gunfire erupted. June SEO's voice cut through the chaos. Get them out. Now. Jay grabbed Catherine's arm. Pulled her upright. She lifted Zoe, held her tight, and ran. The warehouse was a maze. Corridors leading to corridors. Bullets sparking off concrete. Men shouting in Korean. Catherine ran through it all. Zoe's face buried against her neck. Her legs burning. Her lungs screaming. Until they burst through a side door into cold night air. Until the car was there. Until Jay shoved them inside and the engine roared and the warehouse disappeared behind them. Only then did Catherine breathe. Only then did she let herself cry. She found out later what happened. Director Yoon was captured. Not killed. June SEO had been specific about that. Catherine asked why. Because death is easy. June SEO's voice was flat. Prison is forever. He'll spend the rest of his life remembering what he lost. What he could have had. That's a punishment worse than anything I could do to him. And the others. The remaining conspirators. Dealt with. She didn't ask for details. 2 weeks later, Catherine stood on the rooftop of June SEO's building. The city sprawled beneath her. Glittering. Endless. Full of people who had no idea what happened in the shadows. Zoe was safe. In a new apartment. New school. New life. Marcus was back at UCLA. Dean's List. Talking about medical school applications. And Catherine. Catherine was something she hadn't been in a very long time. Free. You could leave. June SEO's voice came from behind her. She didn't turn. I know. New identity. New city. Enough money to start over anywhere. He moved to stand beside her. That was our agreement. I remember. Silence stretched between them. Are you going to? Catherine considered the question. You kidnapped my family. Threatened my life. Dragged me into a war I never asked to be part of. All true. And then you saved my daughter. Gave me back my brother. Showed me parts of yourself that the world never sees. Also true. She turned to look at him. I hated you. When you first brought me here. I hated everything you represented. And now. Now I think you're the most dangerous man I've ever met. And the only one who's ever seen me as more than what I could do for him. Junesio's expression shifted. Something vulnerable. Something hoping. Is that enough? Catherine thought about the restaurant. The 12 seconds. The kiss that had destroyed her world and rebuilt it into something entirely different. It's a start. She took his hand. Not a declaration of love. Not a promise of forever. Just two people who had survived impossible things. Choosing to survive them together. Catherine walked into that restaurant as a waitress trying to survive. She walked out as the woman who saved a dragon. And made him human. If this story kept you locked in until the very end, do me a favor. Hit that like button. Drop a comment telling me. Would you have trusted Junesio? And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Tap that button. Ring the bell. Because stories like this one. They don't come around every day. Share this with someone who believes that love can grow in the darkest places. And remember. The dragon story might be over. But yours is just beginning. Until next time. Stay dangerous.